let's just jump into Board of Education Policy on Educational Excellence. Mr. Howell.
Sure. So Mike and I worked on this policy. We've taken your input from the last meeting, took that information. We condensed some of the information because some of the language was duplicative, so we wanted to just condense it so we weren't saying the same thing twice in the policy. We sent it out. Sean, I know, sent it to all of you for your review. I can read each component of the new policy that was developed here for your consideration. Or I don't know if you've already kind of looked through it and have some questions. So Sean, how would you want us to go through this? Do you want to read each component, or do we want to just do a conversation in regards to what the updates were using all the information that you provided back to us at the last meeting?
How about we go through each component and then go through the updates? Or I do want to call the updates as you go through each one.
Yeah, well, the updates are already put in there, so we can just go through each component, and then if you have questions in regards to the language within this, we could just have that dialogue right now. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the Board of Education Policy on Educational Excellence and Progress Monitoring. The purpose, the Grosse Public Schools Board of Education is dedicated to nurturing educational excellence within our schools. This policy sets principles and guidelines for establishing annual measurable goals, utilizing data effectively, and fostering transparency and collaboration among stakeholders for continuous school improvement. The Board of Education is also committed to supporting the administration's efforts to go beyond regulatory mandates as a minimum, to adopt the best programs and practices to help Grosse Public School students succeed. So the update in that was the regulatory mandates as a minimum is what was included, because one of the questions was if this is the minimum practice that we need to do, or if we want to go beyond that. So this is just explaining that in that kind of a format.
That's great. I think that was Jeanne Lizza's comment, correct? Yes.
I think it was Will.
Will as well. Yeah, Will Rowan.
Is there any questions to that, any thoughts, or any dialogue in regards to the purpose?
Sounds great.
So let's go to the next component, which is the supportive approach. 1.1, the district will offer professional development, resources, and guidance aligned with the district's strategic plan and Michigan Department of Education recommendations to assist educators in meeting established goals. And then 1.2 states that the administration shall work collaboratively with educators to ensure that the collection and analysis of data are meaningful and supportive of instructional improvement. There wasn't any real changes to that supportive approach based off of the dialogue we had last time. We did just clean up the language a little bit to make it more concise. And Mike, feel free to step in and give any information that you need. Any thoughts in regards to the supportive approach language? So continuous improvement, 2.1, the Board of Education Administration will strive for continuous school improvement cycles. These cycles will utilize data, stakeholder feedback, evaluation, and best practices to refine the district's educational goals and school improvement plans. So the adjustment with this language was specific to the continuous cycles, wanting to make sure that we are not acting as a process of compliance at the end of the school year, checking off the box that this is something that we continually look at throughout the school year. We meet as teams, district teams, building teams, to guide our approach and progress monitor our student performance.
And a lot of that will be contained in that annual report that you just did last week.
Correct. That is correct. And these are ongoing monthly meetings that we have with our building administrators, our EPLC team, our MyKIP team, and also building school improvement teams. You know, regularly meet. They're called MyKIP teams, the Michigan Continuous Integrated Continuous Process Plan. Those teams meet on a regular basis in buildings to discuss data and how students are performing and how to progress monitor that data. And that's all the word cycle is what really kind of focuses on that. Number 3, educational excellence of improvement plans. The board reaffirms its commitment to educational excellence and the essential role of school improvement plans in our educational mission. And 3.2, the administration will develop annual measurable goals to advance educational excellence or educational excellence goals as part of the district school improvement plans. And then 3.3, the administration will submit educational excellence goals to the Board of Education in the fall of each year that will include measurable key performance indicators reflecting educational outcomes and progress. And 3.4, the administration will use educational excellence goals and key performance indicators to inform decision-making and promote accountability for improvement over time.
What do you anticipate those KPIs to be?
I would anticipate the KPIs being MSTEP, PSAT, SAT, NWEA as our benchmark assessments.
Okay.
And we'll use those as our high overarching goals. And then buildings will also have formative assessments that they will use on a regular basis. That won't be a key performance indicator that we will use, but it will be narrowing the focus, providing guidance and direction with classrooms, individual student performance. We might have some curriculum-based measures that are used, but that's kind of that narrow focus that might be individualized for students.
Okay, and then how do we report to the public what the buildings are doing?
Through the, it's a systems-wide approach. So the first approach is building a key performance indicators, which we just stated, which those would be aligned with our school improvement plan or our goals. So the goal might be a specific improvement in reading, writing, math. Maybe there's another component that we identify through our MyKit process of what that goal is going to be. And then buildings will have their own building specific goals related to that goal. So maybe if it's a reading goal that we're going to improve NWEA scores by a particular amount, then a building would have that same goal, but they would narrow that focus based off of their school, classroom, maybe even individual student. So they'll even dive deeper into those goals.
Thank you.
And those two concepts are in the next two sections, the public reporting.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any thoughts from there?
So if there's a gap, like some buildings quite a bit lower than another, and at what point do you change or improve or segregate?
So we'll make those determinations through analyzing the data, seeing where the needs are, taking a look at the lowest, let's say 30th percentile of students and how we're going to target interventions for those kids. So in some cases, we have two buildings that are Title I buildings at the elementary level. They get additional funds. So how are we using those funds to really have a progress monitoring process for students that are in a lower level, and then what supports are we giving? So for instance, we have additional support for reading and writing and math in those two buildings based off of the needs of those students. So we already know that our scores are a little bit lower in those schools, and we have targeted assistance and paraprofessionals and teachers that are specifically giving interventions in those places. We also have literacy coaches in our school district, so we are providing a higher level of support in the buildings that have a higher need. So Monteith and Mason have more students that qualify for reading support in those two buildings than, let's say, Richard and Mayer. So they receive additional supports in those buildings versus those other two buildings.
Thank you.
Stakeholder engagement, section 4.1, benchmark data and educational excellence goals will be transparently shared with stakeholders annually through the district and buildings PA25 reports. So each year we have PA25 reports that are submitted to the Board of Education. They're put on our website as annual reports. We give those reports on a regular basis. You may remember Rebecca Fanning giving those reports. We would like to kind of marry those reports with our educational excellence goals so that they're presented at the same time. So the curriculum department would be presenting that information, those goals, what those goals look like at a high level, and how we kind of dive a little bit deeper into the PA25 reports for individual building information. Any questions on the stakeholder engagement there? And then last, the annual progress reporting. Annually in the fall, The administration will report progress towards achieving educational excellence goals to the Board of Education and stakeholders, including an analysis of benchmark data and any necessary adjustments to strategies, school improvement plans, and goals. So similar to the presentation that I gave the other night in regards to our continuity of service plan, I will give, or the department will give a presentation very similar, providing high-level data connected to key performance indicators to the Board of Education, along with our specific goals that we have for the school district and how we will achieve those goals, and if there needs to be adjustments to those goals.
And those adjustments will be by, that presentation will be by building?
Those will be a high-level overview, and then the PA 25 report, we would give information per building. And then if we're given services specific to the needs of each building, we'll kind of give that level of detail out as well each fall. So let's say Title I services, we're receiving more funds to provide interventions in the area of phonics instruction. We'll explain what that looks like, in a high-level report during this presentation each fall.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this?
My only comment is of course, you work on this and then it's up to you all to see if you want to present it to the board. Before you do, I wanted to check two things, and I just, done it yet, but just the language. We use BoE as a short for the board. Just look at the rest of the current policies and see if there's a format that is common. And the same thing with the district, capital D district or GPPSS. Whatever is common throughout the current policies, we could probably match this up. Other than that, I'm in favor of the policy.
You might have helped write it.
No, I
I
think.
just bugged in the questions.
I think this is fantastic, and it shows transparency, use of data, and just want to thank Mike Thoits and especially Keith Howell for putting that together.
Nice job.
Very good job.
Unless there's any other questions, can I get a motion to recommend that the board pass this policy? Be a second? Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So we recommend it to the board for, to pass as a new policy of the board.
Sean, when do you see this going on as an agenda item? Do you see this as December 12th? Do you see this in January?
December 12th.
That's our first read. A lot going on. That's December 12th is our.
This will be our final interview, finalist interviews, so we could look at that or January.
What's good for you, Keith?
That's what the final interviews? Say so?
Yes,
Okay.
should be.
The 12th is
Wednesday and
Wednesday.
Thursday, we have interviews. Saturday, we pick the finalists. That next board meeting, is it the 12th or the 14th?
It's the 12th.
Okay, the 12th, if regular,
Right, that would
regular
be
meeting.
finalist interviews.
Gotcha.
Oh, so you're doing finals and interviews
On the
during the
12th.
board meeting?
Gotcha.
Yes,
Got it.
so we should probably do this in January.
Well,
It's,
that's up to you.
if you do it in January, there's no hurry. It's not gonna change our work. We're already doing the work that's
Right.
incorporated through this. So if you do it in January, it really doesn't.
It doesn't impact you
It
at
doesn't
all.
impact our work.
Okay, so then January.
And we could get this to Clarkville to, as Mike said, make sure. that-
Trust it up home.
We get a number for it, and I think we usually use just the board as a short form.
Right.
Yeah, I do that.
Okay. Is there any new business that anybody would like to address at the next meeting? At this time, let's see what the administration comes up with in the meantime.
We
Public,
have, didn't we have, I thought we had some policies we were looking at. 5.14, I think.
You're talking about the 5.14 as far as the AG and the policy that goes into our teacher staffing.
Okay.
And so based upon the parent laws that are changing, we are looking at those policies. I know we had a chance, me and Sean talked with our legal team at
Right,
Clark
right.
Hill. We feel like we're in good standing right now. There may be some other districts who may not have been good standing with their policies
Okay.
as it relates to the pair changes, but we feel like we're in good standing. I know they're looking at a couple of other ones for us based upon Governor Whitmer signing, you know, the bill 395 and 396 about teacher effectiveness rating, as well as like the teacher placement and teacher layoff and recall process. We're finding out more about those when they will go into effect, because those will change some of our policies, because of course, one of the things that's going away is the highly effective term. So the highly effective term is going away and it will be effective. And then there's other things that will need to be negotiated before they actually go into contract. Some of those policies may or may not change, and it may or may not impact how we do things, because a lot of things have to be negotiated and based upon the peer changes that are happening.
Definition of teacher, things like that.
Correct.
So just for everybody's knowledge, can you walk through what's happening with highly effective, and how that's changing?
Yeah, so as of right now in our district, there's several different categories as far as based upon your evaluation, and our evaluation falls into different pockets as far as how you get effective or highly effective. Part of our evaluation is your overall performance as a teacher, and then 40% of it is based upon your student test results, based upon NWEA, PSAT, SAT. That goes into your evaluation to make you either highly effective, minimally effective, or you're the last category.
So-
Totally ineffective.
So based upon some of the peer changes that are taking place, right? And so now highly effective is now going away, and the highest band you'll be able to get is effective. Well, that happened several years ago, where you can be, I believe it was maybe 2012, I think, maybe 2011 when that went into place, but highly effective will be going away, so the highest band you will get will be effective. When you go into our policies and you take a deep dive, we have, of course, the policies, then we have administrative guidelines that work right next to the policies. In our administrative guideline, and you talked about it, 5114, they talk about there's certain things you have to be able to do, certain considerations you have to obtain to be able to, in our district, get a certain amount of points or a certain amount of things to be highly effective. Those things have to change because the highly effective tax is going away. So we have to work to make some of those changes based upon the new laws that are going into effect. I'm actually going to a conference on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's why I won't be at the board interviews for a new superintendent to learn more about the peer changes, because I'm the chief negotiator, and to be able to work and see what we do to make sure those changes go into effect and benefit our teachers.
Got it. So Kevin, what do you think of all this?
You knew that question was coming, Kevin.
Do you want me to be absolutely direct?
Yes. That's, without
I
question.
think it can be a good thing. The highly effective can be used as a cudgel. It can pressure people into things that they're not comfortable doing. If we look at the feedback that we've gotten on how to earn highly effective, like one of the descriptions is spend the summer at Dow Chemical, learning how to take on new experiment ideas. Well, what person can give up their summer in Midland, nice town, but
Is that state, is that the state give us that?
it's our local descriptions, and there are descriptions about going to a national conference and giving a presentation, and a variety of things to earn highly effective. And depending on what an administrator wants to see, it can be very hard to earn highly effective, or it can be easy to earn.
So those milestones are set at a building level?
The description list that we have is from, it's a district level list.
Okay.
But teachers have gotten docked for attendance when it maybe was taken care of. That can play a role in status ratings. Not every teacher can stay after school to supervise multiple clubs, but maybe they're doing great things within their classroom.
Sure.
And it's just on a fundamental level, like people know we're here for the kids. We're gonna help those kids no matter what, and we're gonna help each other, including new teachers. We're gonna mentor and support, and here's what we do. But on a fundamental level, the highly effective, it actually discourages collaboration. Because why would you, if your job is on the line that next spring, why would you help a colleague? And I've actually had an administrator say, I just supervised a lesson, that was a great lesson, loved it, you could learn some things. It was my lesson that I could share with the teacher.
Well, you're gonna be our new Mike Thoits on this policy.
And so I'm gonna help my colleagues no matter what, but that highly effective, when that came down from the state, it was mentioned as lunch among my department members, and there was a collective sigh of relief. Not that we're going to kick back and slack,
No.
but we're not gonna have to worry about status levels and who stays and who doesn't. We'll leave that fun to admins regardless, but we can work together again without worrying about those
Giving us brownie
gradations.
points, for yourself.
You know.
So when will that go away? When will that, is it for certain to go away?
Yes, it's already
Okay.
certain, so like, it's already been signed as far as the bill by Governor Whitmer, now it's just about termination. There are some bills in which she signed that will go into effect, I believe, in the February, March timeframe, and then there are some that are going into effect in July 1. So I think some of the teacher layoff and recall stipulations, those are going into effect, I believe, July 1. Some of the other pieces, I'm not for sure, the highly effective piece will go into the February or March, but I'll be able to give an update on that when I get more information.
Okay. So will it affect our teachers for the next,
Potentially,
potentially?
potentially,
Can we
and
take a look at the local, the list that you were talking about? Can we see
this
that?
is the,
That,
All the changes to para, or you're talking about what is just sort of highly effective and effective?
yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah, that's on our website, so everything mentions in our administrative guideline 5114
That's on the website.
that, President Ismail was mentioning, like all of that, like, there's nothing that's not out there as full transparency as far as our policy and our administrative guidelines. So if you go into any of our policies, you can look and see exactly what we follow when we talk about teacher reductions or anything else, that's all there.
So it's all there, what the difference is between the highly effective and effective.
Curriculum considerations, all those things. Now, Kevin is not wrong, like, this going away for us, this is great. It takes some of the conversation pieces out as far as, okay, highly effective this, that, like you mentioned, like, okay, what are you doing over the summer to be highly effective? Highly effective, sometimes seen as lifetime achievement award, so I've been here 32 years, I've been doing this, I've been in the same room, so I must be highly effective. Some of those things are not part of the conversation anymore because highly effective is now gone. And the competition which teachers felt like they had to be able to have, we don't want that. So there's some things with highly effective going away that are potentially gonna make our lives easier. I'm
And if I
in
could
agreement
just
with that.
clarify, I earned highly effective every year, except I purposely decided to go for effective this past school year.
So you're off the committee.
Well, and that was a nail biter this past spring I didn't know. But I purposely went for effective because I was taking on some new classes and I have some a new colleague that I wanted to mentor. So, that's not to pat myself on the back, but and when I told some people, they said, you should have gone for highly effective, this could affect you. Do we want people who are looking out for the kids and here to help each other? Or do we want that game of the extra points to earn a certain status? And to be honest, sometimes I'm back and forth with administrators that really shouldn't be part of the conversation.
Creates a tension, doesn't need to be.
And that's the part I really want to go away, because we look at effective, but that's not still great. You can be a great teacher and be effective and still do great things. Like, that's the part that I really want to go away. Like, the labeling, like, you can, like, great, I mean, effective to me is still an A. But we don't see it that way based upon how the system is set up, and that's the part that's unfortunate about it. And we hope with some of these changes, we can get to a point where we're focusing on teaching and instruction and less on some of the wording.
So is that, well, this thing, I don't mean to sidetrack things, but we've got a little time here. And this is something that's coming up, we're gonna have to focus on, is the whole thing, as I read that policy, and as a number of teachers brought up to me, is there something where the layoffs are determined by if they served on a committee or if they did certain after-school, I call them after-school things that don't have to do with the classroom. Is that in there?
So in the considerations, there are like maybe 10 to 15 considerations for each column. The considerations are, okay, what do you do to go above and beyond?
Okay.
Are there some things that you do? Do you work through committees? Do you do summer work? All those things were considerations of how you go above and beyond. That's how they distinguish, I believe you were on the board at the time when this document was created, President Ismail. I think it was like 2010, 2012, this was created by the administration. But that was created to kind of distinguish what highly effective was versus effective.
Okay.
So it's almost like extra credit.
Correct.
So it's like when the kid brings in a box of Kleenex and hand sanitizer, they get extra credit. It's almost like the same thing for teachers. So if you can't give a little extra time, then you don't get the highly effective. Is that the essence?
Mhm.
Okay. That's unfortunate.
Well, Kevin, he's on you, buddy.
If I could add one more.
Go ahead, no, this is
log to
great.
the bonfire. We know that data is that's a tough issue, because I just hope that as we move forward, we consider, if a teacher takes on a collaborative section that has struggling learners, your scores are not going to be as strong overall, but they should be able to show progress as that year unfolded. Likewise, I teach some AP classes, but my students from year to year, there's sometimes a personality element in certain classes, and we need to consider what is or isn't statistically significant. My class might overlap with some strong math or science classes or not, or a certain time of the day. There are just so many factors. And I should be able to show growth and improvement and strength in the skills in my domain, but we can't, with 150 students or so, for any given year, I hope that from year to year, it doesn't become a plot point like your students started to drop in this area. That's held against me versus outside factors, other situations.
And it's so mentioned you say that, because that's what we also don't want this policy to be.
Good.
Right, like we talked about that, because we don't want the policy to be, we're trying to pick one school versus another. So we do understand there are different learners at every school who learn differently, who need different supports. And we don't want to penalize that, but you're right, the state did make this into, okay, 40% of the evaluated tool has to be this. But you're right, we don't want certain things to pit schools or administrators together. We want to look at holistically. So like, I know when I hear some of the questions, like when I break it down, my school will do this. We're also trying to protect our students and our teachers and make sure they are able to grow, so we can look and see how we can do that in ways where we're showing the district growth, but we're not picking it apart to be able to say, this school didn't do this, why didn't they do this, they are bad. We don't want to deem anybody bad because they didn't potentially reach a benchmark yet, because that's why they're coming to our school system. So they can reach the benchmark when they potentially are ready, or when they get the understanding, because everybody doesn't read or come into our school system reading or read at the same level at times. So we have to give our educators grace for that. That's the only thing I ask when we have this new policy going into place. Let's not make it something where it's like, got it. And I know we're all understanding around that, but I think it's also good for the public to be able to know we're not looking for this to be that. And I think that's important that we continue to say that loudly throughout our community, so people know what we're doing and what we are not.
Kevin, I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
We're glad all of you are here, not you, Kevin, that's right, but we're glad.
No, especially going into these kind of policies, it's great to have somebody with the inside scoop back down in the
Sure.
trenches.
Great, anything else? No? Public comment? Anybody have a public comment?
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Any additional committee member comments? Start at the end.
No, what I really love about this is it's so succinct. It's very direct. It's just right to the point.
Mhm.
And I think that really makes good policy. So I think this looks awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for your work.
Yes, really.
I just want to thank everybody on the committee for their time this year and for people who served all year and for new committee members. Thank you very much and happy holidays.
It's a good way to end it.
Thank you all. This was quite an adventure, expanding these committees, particularly from board members, and I think it's great. The mix that we've got of people coming together is opened up so much for me as far as insight goes that I'm sincerely appreciative of all of you, and the administration down to everybody here, and I think it's great. I'm excited for what we're gonna be doing next year. Kevin's redoing the policy manual.
Just thank you, I'm excited to be part of this.
Thank you all for being here. I appreciate your time and thank you for your trust and allowing us to be able to continue to focus on teaching and learning. That's what we do best.
For sure.
I'll pass. Thank you, Mr. Howell. This is fantastic.
Yeah, Keith, thank you for your efforts.
All right, we are adjourned.
Okay.